What can Turkey do to help stem the flow of thousands of refugees into Europe? European Council President Donald Tusk is in Istanbul today for crucial talks with President Erdogan as he seeks to find a solution to the crisis. For Tusk, the number of people trying to enter Europe from Turkey remains far too high. He has raised the idea of shipping people who arrive on the Greek islands back to Turkey. Well, to understand how serious the situation is getting, here's a comparison in numbers. Well, in the first 2 months of 2015, some 12,000 people reached Europe's shores. In the same period of this year, over 130,000 people have arrived. That's a tenfold increase. Over a third of those refugees are children. Well, in a moment, we'll take you live to our correspondents in Istanbul and Calais, where a refugee camp is being dismantled. But we begin our coverage in Greece. Let's speak to Alican Ayanlar, who is in Idomeni on the Greece border with Macedonia, where thousands of people are stranded and conditions continue to worsen. Alican, give us a sense of how bad things are where you are.
Well, Malene, I can tell you that the border remains closed and nearly 10,000 refugees remain stuck here, unable to continue their push into Macedonia and further on into Europe. Now, last night, this area received about 4 centimeters of rain in about a 7-hour period overnight. That may not sound much, but I can tell you it makes all the difference for all the people here. You can see over here that a lot of these tents have actually blankets and clothes hanging on top of them, laying out in the sun to dry after the downpour last night. If we come over here, we can see people have dug trenches or canals, so the water that's sitting on the ground doesn't actually seep inside of the tent. So it's clearly a desperate situation. If I can just try to jump over this puddle here. You can see water's been accumulated here in this puddle, and there's lots of trash, plastic bags, empty soda cans, plastic water bottles, and a baby's diaper. And I've seen children play in this water this morning, and orange peels lying around. So this is a scene that we're seeing all across the field here in Idomeni, and the sanitary situation is extremely poor. Now, I want to bring in my guest, Babar Balok. He's the UNHCR's spokesperson. Babar, you're seeing the conditions here. Is this the worst that you've seen here?
It's certainly getting worse day by day. These people are in a tough situation. This is not where you want to keep the world's most vulnerable refugees, majority of them women and children. Over 90% of them are coming directly from Syria, Iraq, some of them Afghanistan, the Afghans which are not being allowed to come in over here. But this is not a place to keep this population. We need to find a solution for their plight. And the way things are going at the border over here, there are over 10,000 people. We don't think till the time you have proper a reception center for these people, this is going to get worse.
You say a solution needs to be done. So what needs to be done?
We need to work quickly on a solution where these people are moved to reception centers, shelters, where they are provided at least with the basic facilities. This is not sustainable. For how long in these horrible conditions can you allow the kids, the women, the families, and this human population over here? This is the burden of war, and the burden of war needs to be shared with Greece, with Turkey, by the European Union, by the other countries as well. Till the time we don't see the mechanism that has been agreed in terms of register, screen, and relocate these people from here, I'm worried that it's just going to get worse.
You're worried, but as we speak, European leaders fail to come to any understanding, common understanding. We have 32,000 people that are stranded in Greece, about 12,000 people here, and most of the people who aren't here will be coming here, so the problem's only going to get worse.
Yes, we see each passing day there are more and more people coming through, and everyone is hoping they will be allowed to get across. Yesterday there were only 280 people that were allowed by Macedonians. Doesn't seem that things are going to change over here. So what we need is help for this population, which has to be done in solidarity with this population over here, but also with Greece.
Okay, Babar, thank you very much. Well, Malene, as you've seen and as you heard, the situation is quite desperate. And when you talk to the people here, it's unlikely the situation is going to change anytime soon.
Okay, Alican, good to hear from you. We could get the sense of frustration of your guests there as well. Let's move straight to Randolph Nogel, who is in Istanbul, where that meeting between President Erdogan and Donald Tusk will take place later today. Randy, the EU very much depending on Turkey to contain the refugee crisis. What are we expecting from talks today?
Well, just in the complex behind me, the palace behind me, European Council President Donald Tusk and Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Turkey's president, will meet later today, and they're really expected to discuss the Aegean migrant route. Now, that route saw more than 800,000 refugees and migrants cross into Europe from Turkey to Greece last year. The EU will be pressing on Monday at a summit in Brussels for Turkey to step up border controls along its Aegean Sea border to stop that flow of migrants. On the other hand, Turkey will be pressing the EU for visa liberalization measures, as well as for the bloc to speed up its ascension to the EU.
Okay, Randolph Nogel joining us there in Istanbul, and he will be across that meeting between President Erdogan and Donald Tusk later today. Lots more on that story. But let's continue on the story and go to France, where the demolition of a refugee camp in the port city of Calais has now entered its 5th day. John Brain is in Calais, joining me live. So, John, the refugees there have been sent a very strong message by politicians yesterday. Tell us what's been happening.
Yes, they've been told in no uncertain terms that they should not consider this camp as any sort of waiting room to get into the UK. Both the British Prime Minister and the French President on Thursday emphasising that message that they will be stopped. A message emphasised, of course, by Donald Tusk, the President of the European Council, talking about economic migrants in particular, saying they should save their money and stay at home. The question, of course, is whether these messages will be heeded. Well, we have been speaking to some refugees here who say they've given up their dream of getting to Britain and will apply for asylum in France. Others are equally determined, though, to get to the UK.
Okay, John, many thanks for that.